Good evening, everyone. We are all having a hard time because of this pandemic. Last year, 2020, when COVID 19 entered in our country. And because of this, it gives us a lot of problems, including on how we could possibly continue education during this pandemic. And our government come up with an idea of the new normal setup or which is the online learning. So today we invited a special person to join us today. She's an English teacher at Balingasa High School. Let's all welcome Ma'am Virna E. Garcia. Good evening, ma'am. Welcome to
Good
the Italy.
evening. Thank you.
So for our first question, we didn't expect this situation to happen. But what is your initial reaction when you found out you're going to teach online?
We actually had mixed emotions since, of course, we know that there is a virus outside and no one wants to leave the house and, of course, go to work. So it's an advantage for us. But then we actually realized that it's harder to teach online since we really can't reach some of the students, we can't get a hold of them to get their activities or whatsoever. So, but then it's still a good thing that there will be continuous learning for them.
We are all new to this kind of setup. So how did you prepare yourself for this kind of setup, ma'am?
Actually, the schools division office have prepared us with well, a lot of webinars, especially the platforms that we may be using. So we actually had the Creeper webinars in how to use Google Classroom, Zoom, ano pa ba? Mga Google Meet and all that. Those things na we actually aren't used in using, natutunan namin lahat. Pati even the Facebook group kasi hindi naman din lahat ng teachers nagiget sa mga Google Classroom and all that. So, individually, we actually have practiced a lot in using those since wala namang kaming coach when we do the actual teaching online. So you really have to prepare in using those platforms.
So it really takes a lot of effort. Um,
Yes.
yes. What are the struggles that you and your students encountered during the online class?
There are actually a lot, but then the major problem is the internet connection. Since most of the high school classes in Quezon City, we have the blended distance learning in which we can have the online plus the digital module or online plus the printed ones. So since kami, nag-provide kasi ang Quezon City government ng tablets to those who doesn't have, to those who don't have the gadget to use in online class. So mostly sa students namin naka-digital digitized module or online. So actually halos parehas lang din naman yung mga process. So nagkakaroon kami ng online meetings which we call the synchronous class, but then they will still be answering modules that are sent in their Google Classroom. So that's why the major problem is the connectivity since hindi lahat malakas ang signal, hindi lahat merong load, or minsan hindi nakakapag-provide yung LGU ng load. So that's the main problem actually.
So it's about connection issue. So for our
Yeah.
next question, ma'am, what is the difference between online learning and face-to-face setup in terms of class interaction?
Of course, in an online setup, we get lesser participation from the students. Since well, most of them are shy to speak. Actually, in our classes kasi, we have 4 sections in one session. So, yung iba, well, hindi mo talaga sila ma-iisa-isa kasi nga meron kang maybe 100 plus or 100 students in one session. So, lesser participation in online class than the ones in face-to-face, because in face-to-face, of course, you can have them read a sentence. For example, hindi mo siya masyadong na pagpa-participate in recitation, pwede mo na lang siyang pabasahin or what. So ngayon hindi na, kasi minsan kahit tawagin mo sila, hindi sila sasagot and you don't not have any choice but to move on with your class.
You cannot monitor them one by one. For our
Yeah.
next question, who do you think is much more affected in this kind of set?
Well, we have a fair share of adjustments. So teachers and students and the parents, since they are the ones facilitating some of the activities, yung lalo na yung mga hindi nakaka-attend ng online class. But then, of course, the adults can always have their time management, right? So students naman, they actually had a hard time in managing their time. So yung iba, magpapasa yan on the last, like buong module ng first quarter, for example, papasa nila yan ng isang araw. Kasi grade na or malapit na sabihin na ng teacher na bagsaka na or whatsoever. So time management talaga yung problema nila.
So time management is the key, according to Ma'am Garcia.
Yes. When you're a student.
Yes. When our government decided that we are going to have an online learning, I think, Ma'am, are we really ready and equipped for this kind of setup?
Well, of course not, since ayun nga, marami talagang mga kabahayan pa at lugar na hindi ganun kalakas yung internet connection. So, it's not for everyone yung online class. So, ang distance learning, applicable siya pwede sa lahat because you can have printed and all that. So, ayun, siguro just for the sustainability and continuity of learning, kaya siya continue, but no one's ready for this.
Because of this pandemic, it really affects many people. Many people became jobless. So do you think this online learning is for everyone, considering that some of the teachers and students does not have enough equipment, internet, or data connection to attend the class?
Sorry, what's the question?
Do you think this online learning is really for everyone po?
Well, it's not an advantage for everyone. Since sabi nga nila, anti-poor daw ang online learning. Kasi nga yung iba, wala namang gadget, wala naman lahat. Especially dun sa mga provinces, na yung mga nasa bundok pa and all. Iba, aakyat pa or bababa pa ng bundok para magkaroon ng connection. But then, it's actually I still think that it's a good move because when students stop a school year learning, actually ang studies kasi is that hindi na sila kung walang continuity of learning, mas lalo silang hindi magiging interesado na mag-aral. So, kailangan tuloy-tuloy ang kanilang pag-aaral kahit na for example, ito, maraming adjustments and all that, but still, also, sayang yung taon, di ba? Na sana makagraduate na sila or anything like that.
Most of the students right now are slowly losing interest in their studies. So can we really consider that online learning is really effective?
Well, hindi naman lahat ay naglo-lose ng interest. Of course, it depends on the student kung paano niya i-deal yung adjustment. So, yung iba, hindi nakaka-adjust. Yung dating honor student, ngayon hindi na siya honor student. Or yung iba naman, mas nag-excel sila. Yung mga hindi ganun kagaling sa face-to-face, well, nagkaroon sila ng support system sa bahay and nagawa nila ng maayos yung mga work nila and mas tumaas yung mga grades nila. So, it actually depends on the student. So, kung effective, um, in terms of continuity of learning, I think yes. Pero dun sa mga, iba siguro may mga cases talaga na, yun nga, yung mga hindi maka-adjust, siguro not for them.
It really depends on how they're going to handle the online learning. Yeah. For our
And
next
also,
question. Okay, ma'am. Go.
also the support system, kasi it depends on the parents if they will be the one, if they will help and facilitate the studies of their students.
There are some people that are just looking on the downside or the not so good side of this online learning. But can we talk about now what is the good side or the positive side of this online learning?
Positive side is that we were able to adapt to change, right? Also, siguro mas tipid sa ilan kasi hindi na kailangan umalis ng bahay ng mga anak nila. So, for example, hindi ka na magbabayad ng service, hindi ka na magbabayad ng ganito, ganyan. And also, teachers are very considerate in this time of pandemic. So, for example, there will be projects and all that. We get to have the list materials na pwedeng gamitin, list na pwedeng gastusin because of course it's pandemic. Maraming mga gastusin and all that, may mga na-hospitalized. So, maybe yun yung positive side. Also, they get to study and learn at the comfort of their homes.
Yes, I agree that most of the teachers are very considerate and students just need to communicate with their teachers. For our last question, ma'am, do you think are we ready now to go back in face-to-face setup considering our current situation?
For the next school year, I think no. Kasi of course, ang sabi nga ni President Duterte, there must be vaccines for all before he opens the schools. At saka kailangan ng ng immunity and all that. So, I think not. So, tingin ko next school year, it will just be online classes or blended na pwedeng yung iba ay makapunta ng school but very limited people.
Yes, but we are still hoping for the time that we're going to back to normal.
Yes.
We are all having a hard time because of this pandemic. So it's really important that we have to understand each other's situation. Ma'am, thank you. Ma'am, thank you for accepting my invitation to be my guest today, and thank you for answering all our questions.